Washington.
This is what, Martin for here once again. Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is your boy Jamar D4 here once again, and we are here to discuss episode 4 of season 8 of Rupaul's Drag Race. Now, before I actually get started, I wanted to give a shout out to this podcast that I listened to regarding to RuPaul's Drag Race. I started listening last season. Make sure you guys go over and check out. I believe it's located under RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Drag Race Recap on Twitter with Daniel Brewer, Joe Bachance, and Taylor the Latte Boy. They have been watching my videos the past couple of weeks or since the season had started. So if you guys are watching, hey, what's going on? Big fan of you guys' podcast, and I believe they started watching my channel too, so I really appreciate that. So I wanted to give them that particular shout out, and I'll probably listen to them later on tonight. But this episode is called New Wave Queens, where I don't believe there was a mini challenge this week. No. So they started going into the maxi challenge, where at this time there's currently 9 queens. So they were split up into 3 different groups. Three groups of 3. They called it the Team Best Friend Race, which was Kimchi, Robbie Turner, and Naomi Smalls. Then you got Team New York, of course, which is Acid, Bob, and Thorgy. And then we have what's called the supposed leftovers, who just kind of were put together by default. Chi-Chi, Naisha, and Derek. So they're left to sort of pick between 3 themes of punk, party, and synth for their original song and performance, whatnot. So immediately, my whole train of thought just left me. Bob, or Team New York, we'll just say it like that, wanted party, and Naisha and her group wanted to have, Naisha and Derek wanted to have party as well. And so it was kind of like a debate between Team New York and Team Derek, and then they was trying to become like, okay, well, unanimously, we all want party. But when they said, who did all of y'all want? They said party, but Chi-Chi was like, she wanted synth. So it was kind of like, well, we're all unanimous, and you guys are not, so we should get party. And so it was immediately from that point, Naisha was trying to be like, it looks like Chi-Chi's not wanting to be a team player. She's, kind of giving off somewhat of a negative vibe when she's with the team and whatnot. And of course, Team Best Friend Race with the other girl, they got Punk, which I'm like, okay, that should be interesting. I wasn't really sure how it was going to turn out. But this was like a very Chi-Chi focused episode because she was, they're working in groups. She was giving her ideas, but she was kind of like, man, this is, They was trying to give her stuff like, what do you think about this? She was like, what if we put them like in shapes? What if we actually go out on the runway in the shape that we're trying to represent? I think they called their group like dragometry, something like that. Excuse me. But during the whole time, she was just kind of distant, and they could tell. And I think Chi-Chi she felt distant just because she knew, or she was kind of like thinking about other stuff, like the fact that she had wore her neon outfit last week for the Roller Girl. Ooh. Excuse me. So she was trying to figure out like what she wanted to wear, and then it was almost at the same time like they weren't really 100% on board with her ideas, because she was trying to say, I wanted to go out, in the shapes. Derek just kept emphasizing, if you give me an idea that doesn't include me walking out on the runway in a box, then I'm cool with that. But and I can see how that can get annoying. And it seemed like every group, with the exception of the Kimchi, Robbie, and Naomi, were having like issues with amongst each other when it came to creative thinking or brainstorming, because Team New York, which actually the problem didn't stem from Acid Betty, which is new. Okay. She actually got points this episode. She might be making it her redemption. Maybe. She has a long way to go. But she made some points in this episode, including Untucked. So, but the squabble was actually between Bob and Thorgy, where, Bob was like, this is a great idea. This is funny. Don't you see yourself like all over this song? And Thorgy's like, And she's like, I'm a trained, musician. I have an ear. I'm a pianist, a cellist, a violist, or something. I believe that's what it's called. So she's like, I have a real ear for music, and I'm not really too much here for whatever it is that y'all got. I'll go with it just to, appease y'all, but I ain't really 100% with it. And so when we get to the rehearsals for each of the teams, if we start with Chi Chi and them, Derek was trying to be a what is it, a drag pop star and like actually sing, and Lucian Piani was like, no, no, I don't think that that's a good idea. I think you should just talk, sing, listen. Chi has the idea, she has it down, she's taking my notes, okay, and Derek was just so insistent on trying to sing. But I'm just like, well, girl, you can't be the only one singing, and then everybody else is doing what they're supposed to do. It's just gonna sound off. And we get to team best friend race, and the funny part was this: they was like, they're supposed to be punk, and they would try to do like a scream, or just give a primal scream, and it was funny how even when screaming, Naomi Small sounds like in one tone, in one monotone. I was just like. Even when you try to scream, you still stay at that one frequency. Still love her though, but I just thought that was funny. And not Naomi, Kimchi's face when she screamed looked angry, but it didn't sound as angry. And Robbie Turner just sounded like a little schoolgirl. I don't know why. I don't know. Then we get to Bob's and them team. Now this was actually, I was kind of lost as to what the whole issue was. Because it was like Lucian was trying to tell the team that they were kind of being like extra musical and campy. They were kind of doing like that whole over the whole overacting thing, like the over characterized thing. And he was just trying to say like bring it down just a little bit, not as animated, I guess. And that's what Acid was trying to do. She got it, right away. But for some reason, Bob just didn't understand the reference that he was trying to give. Like he was trying to give all these different references. And I guess Bob was just like, I hate all those people in reference to like Lord. But it was just like he just wasn't getting it. I'm like, Bob, all you have to do is just take what you have and tone it down just a little bit. And it really wasn't as difficult. It was kind of weird. I'm like, why isn't he getting it? I'm like, what's the issue here, But let's see. Anything else happened in the rehearsals that I missed? Trying to before we get to the actual challenge. We did quickly talk about, like I said, when with Chi Chi, she talked about how she, is a cheap queen once again. How she's back home, worked in 2 jobs, and how she doesn't really have everything that everybody else has as far as the resources for their drag and this, that, and the fourth. Excuse me. And I mean, if that's the case, then Chi Chi, I commend you for your creativity because you're working with not as much as the other girls and still holding your own, bitch. So congratulations to you so far. Let's see. Is there anything else I wanted to mention? I don't think so. So now we get to the actual performances. And first group was the Team New York. I think they call themselves Street Meat. I hate the name. I hate the name. But they were performing, and I noticed that Acid Betty was wearing the same wig that she had from Meet the Queens. if y'all missed that. They weren't terrible. They were kind of like it wasn't memorable for me. The only part about it that I really remembered was that they were doing like the whole microphone or mic, the little choreography with the microphone, and they kind of moved around and switched mics and stuff. I thought that was kind of nice. That part about it I did remember. But other than that, I really don't remember much from it. It was kind of meh. And then we go to the second group, which was not Naomi, Derek Barry, Naisha, and Chi Chi. And Chi Chi was carrying that group because Naisha, I don't know what Naisha was doing. Naisha was on a whole different show. Naisha was doing something completely different. And Derek Barrett was over there looking like Sia with the square on her head. And it just looked... And they had a little choreography. I don't want to be a square or something like that. It was cute, but it looked like Chi Chi was the person to look at in that group. She looked like she had, she was into it the most, which is, yeah, it is what it is. Um, then lastly, we get, Robbie, Naomi, and Chi Chi, and I thought they were doing Punk, and I'm just like, oh boy, here we go. This is about to be some bull. But they actually turned it out. They made, they took jabs at each other, and they were funny about it, and it just worked. So I said, congratulations to them. Even Naomi was giving it. I was like, okay. Because you know how Naomi's really chill, and, to be Punk, you have to be kind of, out there and dramatic with sort of the anger thing. And so she really made it work. And I was like, okay. I was entertained. And then the whole spitting thing out, it just really pulled itself together. So congratulations to them. Now we get to this runway, child. And they sped through this runway so damn fast. I'm like, y'all acting like y'all have, this is the first episode and we had to fit in 14 queens. Like, y'all only have 9 bitches. And this was like one of the best runway, or one of the most exciting runways that we've seen. Excuse me, because it was a neon, couture, and I barely could remember most people's outfits. Shit. The ones that I definitely remember were Kimchi, Acid Betty, Thorgy, Chi Chi, and shit, who else do I really remember? And I guess Bob. Because Bob didn't come out with a wig this time. But Chi Chi, I remember seeing that look in the trailer. I thought that was Acid Betty initially, because it just looked like something that she would do. But Kimchi, not only did she not use any of her own features, she literally drew a whole half a face with a mouth. It was incredible. I don't even know how you even see that in your mind to create it. Like, that's just fucking amazing. And Acid Betty came out there looking like if the Grinch was in drag. That's really what she looked like. If the Grinch said, I want to be fabulous and go into drag for this Christmas, that's what she would look like. And speaking of Acid Betty, I'm going to see her this weekend. She's coming to Houston, so I'm going to see what she gives in person. So this should be interesting. Y'all pray for me. Let's see, what else? The runway. Now, Chi Chi, as she mentioned earlier in the episode, had to kind of go make her outfit. She was going to, make a bathing suit. And I thought, like, oh, Lord, here we go. Is she going to be able to make something in time for this runway? But that's kind of how she was the first episode. She had a problem with her outfit, and she made it do what it do, baby. And whatever she came out with, that shit was actually cute. I was like, okay, Chi Chi, you working it, baby. You working it. And I appreciated it. Derek's outfit, what I remember, was basic. I didn't like it. Bob had like the neon bald head with the pink dripping coming down. I thought that was nice. I think that's it for the runway. They tried to talk about Thorgy. It wasn't bad, but I don't think it really deserved that much of a negative critique. I put it like that. Because she had like the drawn cheekbone, and she had like the really big neon. It almost looked like they were styrofoam, like eyelashes and eyebrows. I mean, it was still part of the challenge, though. And also, speaking of Thorgy will be here next weekend, so I'm going to be happy to meet her as well. Let's see, I don't think there's anything else as far as the runway. Then we come back and we get to the bottom 2. And I just knew that the bottom 2 was going to be Naisha and Derek. I just knew it, because Derek has just been barely getting under being in the bottom 2 for like the past 2 weeks. And I'm just like, okay, I know he's keeping her on here as long as he possibly can, just because of who Derek Barrett is. But this shit, like, that she's pulling is not, it's just not cutting it, baby. And like, there's only gonna be so many queens she can hide behind before she has to lip sync for that ass, okay? So he ended up putting Naisha in the bottom 2, which, okay, I get it. She was terrible in the challenge, and her outfit for the neon, I actually liked it. Naisha has a fat ass, damn, and she is not pumped or padded. I'm like, wow, that's just all natural, Lord. Whew, anyway, I thought I'd be looking at this as a boy, I'm just telling you. But yeah, she was in the bottom two, and I was just like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's gonna be her and Derek. But then she calls Chi Chi's name, and I'm just like, but wait, Chi Chi actually did very well in the challenge. Her outfit, they didn't talk about her outfit, but they talked about it on the runway. But I'm like, it looks good though. I just didn't see anything that was wrong with it. And they tried to say, I mean, I guess when they were asking about the whole team dynamic, Chi Chi was like, I was really into it. I had my idea, and I wanted to do what Thorgy had, and this, that, and the fourth. And so RuPaul was just seeing like there wasn't really a togetherness amongst the group. And I guess that's what landed her in the bottom two. I didn't agree with that at all. I think that should have definitely been Derek Barry. But I was like, well, Nation, you going home, bitch, because y'all know Miss Chi Chi DeVane, for those who didn't know, now you know, twirls, kicks, flips, and dips for that ass for her life. So, so she did that. I was very proud of Chi Chi's performance. Naisha did better than applause. She did better. She was actually, she gave a split, even though it looked like she almost failed a couple times. She didn't have like that, sickening landing. She landed, but it was a little, almost looked like she could have failed too. But yeah, Chi Chi turned out the lip sync, and so she, got to stay, and Naisha had to sashay away. And she seemed like she was in a happier spirit when she had to sashay away this time. She felt like she really had a chance to show and make an impression, so she was sort of, had closure with sashay in this time. So when we get to Untucked, I'm gonna talk about Untucked really quick. We see when the team that was safe, Kimchi Robbie, and Naomi, the two members from the group Blondie come back, and then Robbie was just having like a complete fangirl moment. And it's just that moment of when somebody that you idolize, especially if you idolize since you were a young age, and they come up to you and acknowledge you and say that what you do is amazing, like that's just a moment you can't put a price on, you can't forget. It's just, it makes you feel the ultimate validation of what it is that you do. So they came back, and I guess it was Robbie's birthday. She wished her happy birthday, and they just had like that whole genuine moment, which is really, really dope. So when all the rest of the girls come back, we get Chi Chi versus Naisha, and Naisha was kind of talking about, like, I thought it was kind of rude how you kind of interrupted me about how our group was going. RuPaul was giving me my critique. But when they played it back, it seemed like, it was edited to look that way. It was almost like RuPaul said, well, she's saying all this, but Chi Chi's shaking her head. Like, is there something wrong? And then that's when Chi Chi spoke. It didn't seem like Naisha was speaking and then Chi Chi just interrupted her while she was speaking. It seemed like Ru asked the question, So they was going back and forth about that, but eventually they did squash it. And the whole, Michelle gave him her speech about, because Chi Chi was giving that, I'm not, I don't have the kind of resources and the money to pay for these outfits that the other girls have. And, I'm working really hard with, very little. And Michelle was like, you don't need money to be a fabulous. You can, there's thrift queens. You just have to be creative, honey. It's not about, what you can buy. It's about, what you, can create and come up with. And, which is true, but not everybody, I guess, has the skill. I guess it's kind of like basically saying, develop your creative skill and your resourcefulness skill, which Chi Chi has, because she has made things out of nothing before. But I guess she's just kind of sometimes feels a little inadequate because hers isn't as, flashy and grand as some of the other girls may be. And Michelle was trying to tell her, like, don't let that be an excuse as to why you can't be great. Okay? So that was good. That was good. And like I said, this is a very Chi Chi based episode. And so they bring out another screen and it was Chi Chi's mom, and she was just saying, how proud she was. They do look just alike. They look just alike, and they sound just alike. They both got that Southern Louisiana accent. But she was saying how proud she was, typical mom things, being a very supportive, especially with your son being a drag queen. I always appreciate and like to see, parents opening up to children who are considered different. That was really nice to see. And of course, Chi-Chi got emotional because she said, "Y'all don't understand. My mom is my best friend, and this, that, and the fourth." And that seems to be a common, truth amongst gay men, is that their mom is usually like the backbone, and who usually gives them the love and validation that they need. So it was nice to see that, and she cried, and everybody gave her a hug and was being very sisterly, and like the bond amongst this group of girls is so different and seems so genuine. Like, even though they might have their little back and forths every now and then, it's like at the end of the day, they still have a mutual love and respect for one another. And that's something that really wasn't there last season. Last season, it was such a divide as to new and old queens. It was just kind of, yeah. But I'm liking the dynamic this season for sure. And so Acid Betty, this is where I said she got her some points. Because, when Chi-Chi was, feeling down about, in her feelings about the mom situation and feeling how she might be in the bottom two, excuse me, she was kind of in the corner crying, and Acid came over and was like, you're awesome. Well, I don't know if she said like, you're awesome, but she was like, do you need anything? I just want to let you know that, you're still an amazing queen, even though you're competition, you're still, pretty dope or whatever. Basically giving her props. And, she went and found her a hairbrush, and Naomi came over and said, do you need anything? And it was just nice to see how, the camaraderie amongst the queens. It felt like, they're not really trying to, sabotage one another. It seemed like they're trying to help each other. Like a few weeks ago, or a couple episodes ago, when Bob was trying to tell Naisha how to, better perform a lip sync in the kind of dress she had. Who was she talking to, Naisha? I can't remember. Or was it Layla McQueen? I can't remember who Bob was talking to. But she was trying to give them tips on how to lip sync. So there's like I said, there's that genuine bond between them that I like to see. And ultimately, even when Naisha had to go sashay away, she left a note to Chi-Chi, very touching note, basically saying, don't doubt yourself, you're amazing, you're here for a reason. And she left her 2 of her outfits that she never even wore herself, so they're really brand new, and she gave them to Chi-Chi, and I thought that was really, really dope. And that showed a very nice sign of maturity. So I really enjoyed this episode. I think it's definitely giving RuPaul's Drag Race and drag queens in a positive light so far, and I'm loving it. And this is also, I forgot to mention this is one of my favorite RuPaul looks that she came out on the runway with the look, like the sequin pants, all blue. I think the only thing about it I said is that it needed like a necklace because it was kind of bare right here. But other than that, still one of my favorites. Yeah, and that's pretty much the episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are interested in RuPaul's Drag Race, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you guys check out the Drag Race Recap podcast that I mentioned about with Daniel Brewer, Joe Batance. Oh, and I'll probably send this as an email later on this week, but I want to know, Joe Batance, if you just so happen to be watching up until this point, I wanted to know how you actually get into the finale taping. How do you get tickets to that? Because I was trying to see if I can make that happen this year. So I'll email it again. But if anybody knows how to get tickets to the finale, let me know. I want to try to make that happen. But thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys next week for Snatch Game. I'm so excited. All right, bye-bye.
Like, share, subscribe.
Washington, Washington.